What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes? Welcome back to another episode of your potentially favorite Nigerian podcast. Bear with me, your host, General Prime. I hope everybody's chilling, getting ready for World War III as usual, because today is quite literally, in every sense of the word, the last day of 2024. The year has finally come to an end. It has been one hell of a year. Actually, to me, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but to me, I feel like this has been an old year. Like it feels like this year dragged on for so long, and kind of like I've never felt like previous years. I've never felt the way I feel in this year. I've never felt that in previous years. Like this year just feels old. It's like there's a lot that has happened this year. It has weighed in so much on the year itself and has aged it drastically to the point it feels, you know how sometimes you just hear, like, let me just say, you hear a word you've not heard in a very long time. You hear like a piece of music you've not heard in a significant amount of time. And you're like, holy shit, what if I died? What if I died? So I would never hear this. I would never have heard this song again. That, as in, till now, I'm very sure that there are things, there are songs, there are like so many things that I used to be aware of in the past that I am like no longer am I not even aware of them. I don't even know that they don't. I don't know that I don't know them. That, as in, this is how far behind some of these memories are, and I feel like that's what happened this year. Like so many things happened this year to the point where like it aged the year itself, because there's so many things that have happened. The year feels like we just don't have enough space for them in our heads. So like they just, pile up, and it's only like at the end of the year right now when everybody has to start kind of like reaccessing and going through all that has happened in the year. Will they start to manage to, kind of recollect and remember some things that have happened? Like, I cannot remember much that's happened this year. I know that there are some very significant things that happened this year, like the attempted assassination of Trump. What else happened again? The whole PDD exposure and the escalation of the war in Israel and Gaza, and the killings of the Hezbollah generals. Like so many things have happened, and most of the ones I can actually remember are based on politics, are based on the drama, as in the political drama going on, the geopolitical drama going on in the world. Like so many, I don't think I can remember any, or I don't think I can remember. I don't know. There's just so much that's happened this year that my brain is going too fast for me to be able to actually remember them, like pinpoint them and like be able to talk about them. But I'm sure if I calm down and think of it, I'm sure I can think of something. But right now, basically, and I actually don't think I even want to anyways. But the point I'm trying to make is that this year feels old because there's so much that's happened this year that has aged the year. And everybody kind of feels tired, like from what I'm seeing online. Like, you know how everybody always, like, there is usually this wrap up, this end of year wrap up, where everybody kind of like talks about how things went throughout the entire year. But this time around, everybody kind of feels like, wow, they are tired though, but they still feel like they have gotten enough experience from 2024 that they are now like kind of ready to face whatever 2025 kind of brings. But it's like, who is the archaeologist that said that we are a species with amnesia? Graham Hancock is the one that said it, right? He said that we're a species with amnesia, and he's kind of right, because this is kind of the same attitude people going into people from 2022 that were heading into 2023. This is how like they felt. Like everybody always feels like, oh, the next year coming is good. We're going. It's like you know how it's like we're gambling. It's just like gambling. It's just like you sitting in front of like a fucking what I don't even know what they call it, the jackpot stuff that people do in the casinos. It's just like you sitting in front of like a gambling machine, and you're just thinking that this next one is going to be the hit. This next one is going to be it. This next one is going to, and sometimes it's a lot of times it happens. Do you understand? I'm not talking about gambling now. I'm talking about people who are always anticipating or always anticipatory of the new year. It's like everybody just feels like, oh, this new year. Everybody feels hopeful. If I'm going to be optimistic about it, everybody feels hopeful that the new year is going to things will get better, things will change. But for some people it happens, but for the rest of for others that it haven't happened to yet, it kind of feels like they've waited too long, and people are more. I just feel like more and more people are like losing hope. I don't know if is that how I feel. Is that like the right way to feel about things, or is that like the right way to like? Is that the right way to look at things? I don't know. But I just feel like more and more people, like there's so much on people's minds, there's so much in people's heads, like there's so much pressure on people. And yes, it feels like there is this, people want to, it feels like people are giving up, but actually they're not giving up. People are not giving up. People are still trying to, as in this rat race that we're all running, people are still like, why is our reality one where this rat race is prevalent? Like, why is this the way it's supposed to be? Why is this the way it is in this our reality where people like have to like walk through their teeth? Like we always like to think that we are living in the best times we're living in one of the best times in human civilization, where we have so much necessities, where we have so much things that are beck and call. But yet life is still nationally difficult for most people. It's like, yes, we have like we're able to move faster. We have good medical services. We have we have abundant food, whereby countries now that are facing famine is not because of like maybe they have like poor farmlands, or maybe because there's shortage of food. No, it's usually something that has to deal with politics. It's usually something that has to deal with religion. So that's how much food we have like in the entire world. Like the world is not lacking food anyway. We have like we're so technologically advanced. Like I always wonder if I always think of how our present world will be talked about in, let me say, in a distant dystopian future where everything, like where humanity basically like basically resets to zero, like basically goes back to the Stone Age or something a little bit later than the Stone Age. Just think of like, let me say, the medieval era, not the Stone Age actually, the medieval era. Like imagine like we fucked things up so bad, so so exponentially, so stupendously bad. We fucked things up so bad that like everything disappears, and the only things left are just hints and facets of what will become our history, that people tens of thousands of years from now will kind of discover and start to like, wonder what life as we are currently facing it today would have been like. As in, imagine that they find most information about us. Imagine that we are now like a subject matter in what will become their schools. Imagine that we are being talked about by these people in the dystopian future that are suffering from our mistakes. Like, has anybody ever thought of that? As in, has anybody ever thought of how they'll talk about how so technologically advanced we were, that we had things that flew in the skies. We had machines, giant machines that flew in the skies. We were able to move at groundbreaking speeds with ground machines. We had cities literally all over the world that had towers that reached the skies. Like, I don't know how they're going to be able to explain that we had so much food, or what they're going to call the machines that we drive on, or we fly in, or we sail on. Like, they had so much technology. They had things that um they could be able to communicate with like anybody everywhere in the world. And maybe a historian in that future might be, as in, telling people this story about us, and people would want him to elaborate, and he'll be like, imagine somebody in this village here right now, and imagine somebody else in another village. Both of them can talk to each other the same way I'm talking to you right now. And nobody would want to, as in, it would be very difficult for the people listening to him, or for his students to grasp what he's saying, because there's nothing for them to fall back on to try to imagine what that might have been. As in, imagine telling them that they had machines where they had literal robots. Like, imagine telling them that they had machines that did their work for them. Imagine telling them that whenever they were whenever the weather was cold, they had machines that can warm the weather up and make it hot for them, and they will not be cold again. Like, imagine telling them about all the technological advancements. Imagine telling them that, like, they had. I'm sure most diseases will come back. Like, they had herbs that was able to cure ailments. Like, imagine telling them that they didn't actually have to have like nationally cold baths every time. If they didn't want to like have a cold bath, they could have a hot bath anytime they wanted. Imagine telling them that they had weapons that could decimate enemies like from very long distances. Like, the enemies won't even know what hit them. Like, imagine telling them machines that could go underwater, machines that could go on water, machines that could fly, machines that could move so fast, machines. Imagine telling them about spaceships. Imagine telling them about, like, I don't know, man, machines that were hanging in the skies and looking down on Earth and giving directions to people. Like, fucking, like, bro, this is the kind of reality that we're actually living in right now. Like, just think of like a dystopian future trying to narrate like us to themselves, like trying to narrate what we are right now to themselves. Think of so many things that they get wrong about us. So many things that they will not even imagine that we currently have today. As in, you know how in let me say, like in Africa, we use divinations. We call on oracles to tell us, like, to give us direction, to tell us things, to tell us, like, to predict the future for us. That's literally AI. AI is like the new oracle. Like, it's kind of sad that we still use all those cowries and kola nuts and all those things to do divinations. That, let me say, 99% of the time is inaccurate. But yet we still have, we have AI. AI now is like the new oracle that we can, like, what do they even call it? That you can contact to try to seek divination from. Like, that is what AI is right now. That is the kind of thing that we have right now. And just as Africans, just as our belief in, like, our oracles and our gods and all of those things, just as those beliefs kind of what's the word I'm trying to find, what is what I'm trying to use right now? evolved to the point where everything we know about those things now, everything we know about their uses is now mainly for evil. I feel like that is the same thing that we're doing with AI right now, where instead of us to use AI for things for as in that will help humanity, that will like evolve humanity, that will progress humanity. Most things that are being used, like most things right now, are just things that either don't matter or are just evil. It's like how are we this as in I've been feeling lately that we are a species. You know how Graham Hancock said that we're a species with amnesia. I've been feeling lately that we are a species that are confused. It's like how are we getting things wrong so bad? How is it that there are idiots in our how is it that that we are being governed by idiots, like people who are sometimes deliberately, but most times just ignorantly destroying society, destroying this civilization that we have, destroying lives? Because I always wonder what life would have been like if, because there was this documentary I think I was watching, was it yesterday, about Nigeria and how like Nigeria, became the oil fucking champion that it is in Africa right now. And imagine if like things would have gone right in Nigeria. Things would have like gone right in Nigeria. And I said I was never going to talk about Nigeria again, but I just want to make this point. Imagine that if things would have gone right in Nigeria, where the government, instead of them to have been, corrupt and, short-sighted, they actually like thought about the future. They're actually considering things in the long run. And then they planned for Nigeria to be like a world power with the resources that they had. Imagine if that had been the case. Just think of how life would have been like in Nigeria. Like, think of how posh the life in Nigeria and the people, like the lives that have been lost, the lives that have been wasted, the lives right now in Nigeria, because there is no job, there are no jobs, there are no industries that young people can get into. Like, there is nothing, there is no, chance. There's no chance in Nigeria. Or should I say the chances in Nigeria are hair thin slim. So it's like, imagine if life would have gone differently. But the reality that we're living in now is the one where we are being governed by idiots, not only in Nigeria, like all over the world. Like, it's like people in power don't know what they are doing, because it's so stupid. You have to consider it being evil as the last option, because sometimes something evil can be just mind-numbingly stupid. You understand? So the way people that are in power are governing, like are running the world right now, like in all the countries. Let's take, for example, Canada, that used to be like a beacon of hope for people for people coming from Africa. It's like the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has like fucked Canada up so bad, to the point where you have to consider that there are nefarious reasons for it, because one cannot be that stupid. It has to be something like he's planning, because everybody has to think of, like, do you guys remember the Illuminati? Do you remember the Illuminati? Like, we used to talk about back then when we were like younger. We used to talk about how the Illuminati, we used to see things about the Illuminati, and that was for most of us, that was like our awakening for conspiracy theories. Like, the Illuminati used to be the ones that the ones we thought were in like controlling the world, like controlling things, running the world, like the ones like controlling the US presidents and controlling World Bank, controlling industries. And we used to believe that they were the ones that actually wanted to like take over the world. Actually, I don't know, do you remember like, does anybody actually remember the Illuminati? Does anybody actually remember like the New World Order? Like, I don't know, there's this speech I think I can remember one time about when George W. Bush Senior was talking about the New World Order. He was talking about how wait, I don't know. Let me look for it on YouTube and then play it, and you guys will hear what I'm saying.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Do you know the parts that like fucks me up the most? Because he said, and wait, let me go back. I didn't get
when
it.
We are successful.
He said, when we are successful, and we will be. It's like, isn't that the Illuminati never went away? It's just that they just changed their name to the WEF, like the World Economic Forum. Because it doesn't seem like they actually went away. Because right now it feels like most of their agenda has been fulfilled. I know how, people like to talk about how the ideological subversion that is going on in America now is being like run and is being controlled and is being overseen by Russia. And this is Russia or China's own kind of their method of kind of destabilizing the United States. But like, you also have to think of the Illuminati, because these are people that, I don't know, for some strange reason or whatever, I don't know why, I don't know what their reason would be. They decided a long time ago that they were going to control their people. They were going to destroy a lot of lives and bring about a lot of instability and stuff like that. I mean, in the 70s and in the 60s, the CIA was literally dumping crack cocaine in black neighborhoods in America back then, in New York, in like Boston, like so many places where like the American government have destabilized their own society. And I cannot imagine why you want to destroy your own home. Why? Like, I always ask the question, like, why would you want to, like, as in, if you were in the position of being the president of a country or being like the guardian of a country or ruler or king or whatever, wouldn't you want? It's like playing Sims. It's like playing Civilization, Sid Meier's Civilization. It's like playing any of these open world games where you would want to have the best stuff. That is how I see it. I have just naturally gamified it. Like, you being the president of a country, you being in charge of a country, is just the same as playing an open world sandbox video game, because everybody in the video game would want to have the best stuff, right? If you see other countries as competitors, like, you'd want to compete with people progressively in a way that will benefit everybody, because a rising tide, naturally, objectively, this is something that is not only a truth but it's a truism, lifts all boats. Like, if everybody works together, like, everything will be okay for everybody. But why are people choosing not to do that? That's why I feel like idiots are the ones holding power. For I don't know how, but somehow the people in charge, not only in America, not only in Nigeria, like the people, most of the people in charge of countries, most of the people running organizations, most of the people in charge actually are just idiots that are too drunk on power to understand how real life works. Imagine Tinubu, bro. I don't want to talk about Nigeria. I'm not going to go there in this episode. This is supposed to be an end of year episode. This is going to be the last episode of the year. So I'm not going to like waste it waxing poetic about the perils and inadequacies of Nigeria. We already know what it is. I don't even think that there's hope for the country anymore. There is something that Dele Faro to me said one time, that if not for Tinubu's governance, there are so many people that would have died as good men. And that makes so much sense, because if you think of it, there are so many people now that this government is exposing as people who are corruptible, people who are incompetent, people who are liars, people who are scammers, people who are traitors and betrayers, and only in it for the money, people who are psychopaths, people who are narcissists, people who are just inadequate in every human way possible. Do you understand? And it's true. There is no denying that. I don't understand how things are not just, good and working properly for everybody and working like a well-oiled machine for everybody. I don't get it. And now we're entering into this new year. Everybody's still remaining as hopeful as they've always been, hoping that things are going to work better this new year. Me, I've not really, aside from the fact that I'm recording today, aside from the fact that I'm doing this episode, making this episode today, I've not really felt any, anything about I'm not going to make any fucking New Year resolutions. I'm not going to, it's just another year. It's just another day. That's how I'm beginning to see it. It's just another day. And it's going to take a lot of things. It's going to take a lot of pillars that gets erected. It's going to take a lot of pillars to be erected for the future to be able to stand firmly. And it doesn't seem right now like those pillars are being raised. It doesn't feel that way because first of all, the war in Ukraine is still going on. Secondly, we still have the war in fucking Israel and Gaza. Thirdly, bro, did you this past week alone, 3 plane crashes have happened. There have been 3 plane crashes in the space of 1 week. There has been 3 different fatal plane crashes. How weird is that? And what I've been thinking on that thing again, remember earlier this year, you know how I said that there are so many things that one will not be able to remember because of how aged the year is, because there's so much that happened earlier this year. But if you guys can remember earlier this year when there was a lot of commotion and drama going on with Boeing, and their whistleblowers were just dying left and right for no reason at all. And it's had me, I began to know, I always have this conspiracy kind of way of thinking. And because of what I now think about the world in general. And I was thinking is it possible that these people are trying to make people scared of flying by destroying their own planes so that it will be able to help them further have more control on people? Because if you can fly away, you cannot be easily controlled. Do you understand? But if you ground all planes, if you put the psychological fear in people that flying is now like a 50% chance of either living or dying, less people will fly. Do you understand? And then you have more control on them. I just felt like that was what was going on. But then, either their fuckery kind of stopped, or more distractions and covered whatever it is that was going on in Boeing back then. And they are no more as much in the zeitgeist as they were back then. But now that in the space of 1 week, there has been 3 fatal plane crashes. It's what the fuck is going on, man? That kind of thoughts just came back to me, and I'm like, why? How? People that thought that, they've already crossed into the new year, kind of grieve, man. So this is what I feel like. I feel like this new year that we're going into right now, yes, a lot of people are hopeful, rightfully so. I mean, why wouldn't you be hopeful? Hope is the only food that the present can eat to have enough strength to wait for the future. You understand? So yeah, people are kind of optimistic about entering the new year, and I mean, they should be applauded for that. But in reality, there are wars that are going on right now that we don't know how they will end. And we have seen that Russia has kind of not Russia, China has unveiled their new Generation 5 fighter jets and stuff like that, and they're kind of like straddling their new weapon system and kind of like, parading them everywhere and letting everybody know what is going on. And then there are talks about the deep state that actually really are the actual Illuminati that want to destroy everything. I don't know why, but they just want to destroy everything and then be able to control it. I don't know what you control from ashes. I don't know. I don't get it. But all these superpowers, all these heads, all these like talking points, all these state actors and all of these people that are kind of like controlling the narrative. It doesn't seem like any of them wants the best. They're just people fighting. They're just people fighting for some weird ass control. I don't understand. They're not fighting for humanity. They're not fighting for their people. They're just fighting to remain in power. They're just fighting to amass themselves with more money and make their friends richer. That is the only thing that they're fighting for. Because tell me why it takes, like, do you know that America has sent $475 billion to Ukraine? But do you know how much it would take to, like, fix the education system in America? It would take just $60 billion to fix the entire education system in America. It would take $177 billion to end poverty in America. $177 billion to like end poverty in America. Like literally nobody in America will be poor. Everybody will be living above the poverty line. Just $177 billion. And yet they prefer to like send that money to war. Because that is what the economy is turning into. The economy is turning into like a military economy where the only thing that generates money has to be war. Like the only thing that generates significant amount of wealth has to be war and the appropriation of it. So it doesn't look to me that it doesn't look to me like the future, like the future will be, there's hope for the future. It doesn't look that way to me, because if we want to like make the future better for ourselves, better for just better for humanity, I think we should have started by now to try to like solve the problems that we have instead of continuing to beat around the bush. It's like there is so much that is wrong in the world right now. At the same juxtaposed with the exponential increment of technological advancement. It's like two things are going on too quickly. The two things are going on too quickly, and nobody has time to like react properly to them. The only way we can react is when something personally happens to us. That is the only way we can like kind of calm down to reassess. That is the right word. So anyways, people that are hopeful for 2025, there is nothing wrong with being hopeful for 2025. The new year is something that everybody has this ideal idea of themselves in their heads that they want to be, but it doesn't always match accurately and accordingly with who they are in reality. That is kind of sad, but like the person that I want to be, the person that I always look at myself as, is miles away from the person that I currently am, and it takes work, literally and figuratively, to get closer to that person and to eventually become that person. So it takes time and efforts and discipline and some will say divine grace, but it's luck. And it's kind of sad. Somebody said something one time. Did somebody say it or did I think of it myself? I don't know. So imagine humanity as like a tree, right? And a pine tree, and the pine tree sheds like millions of pine cones every year. millions and millions and millions. Imagine the lifespan of a pine tree, right? And think of how much pine cones to have shed in its lifetime, billions. But not all of them are going to like germinate and become on that pine tree. You understand? Not all. A minuscule few will germinate, but the rest of them not. So that's just how I see humanity. It's kind of sad that I see it that way, where most people would never fill in the blank in life. Do you understand? Like most people will never, do you understand? Like most people will never know what it means like to be truly and, unabashedly loved. It's like no strength, as in just to be loved. Do you understand? Most people will never know what that feels like. Most people will never know what it feels like to be free. Most people will never know what it feels like to be a millionaire. Like, I'm not talking about only money in this case. I'm talking about in every aspect of life. Most people would never know what it feels like to be in a war zone. You understand? Most people will never know what it means like to like sweep a room or to suffer a day in their lives. Most people will never know what it means like, or it feels like to, go to school, to be in a place where there is peace, to be in a serene environment. Most people will never know what it feels like to be in an aeroplane, to fly. Actually, most people will never touch snow. Most people will never touch desert sand. There are so many things that will never happen to so many people. So many things that will never happen to so many people. Most people will never become billionaires. Like, everybody like comes into this world and then they're being told that there's something called a purpose that they must fulfill while they're in this world. And fulfilling that purpose is what will make them human. Fulfilling that purpose is what will give them meaning. Is what will make them to understand why they came into this world in the first place. Like the reason they are in this world in the first place. But the sad truth that has happened since the inception is that most people are not going to get to reach that purpose, to reach that potential. You understand what I mean by that potential? Most people are never going to get to that point, which is sad, but that's the reality of things. And so yet we still try, hoping that one day we are going to like win. Where was I even going with this? There was something deep I wanted to say, but then I lost my train of thoughts. But yeah, most things will never happen to most people. Just like I'm not really into poems, but there's this poem that I love so much, The Obeyed by Philip Larkins, and there's this line where he said, most things will never happen. Most things in this world will never happen. A lot will happen. This wasn't in the poem, but this is my interpretation of it. A lot will happen, and a lot has happened. There are so many things that you never would have imagined ever in your life happening. Like, there's no storyteller that can cook up that kind of scenario, but it happens in real life. Like, it happens in real life. Do you know that it's not even difficult to be good? It's just that the world is so soiled. Like, I'm trying to make a point here. The world is so soiled that people think that being good means you're, stupid, or means you're like, it's open season for you to be taken advantage of, or they look at you like you're a fool or something like that. Like, that's how soiled the world is. And like most people's default setting is like, not to be, not to be bad, but it's like most people's default setting, everybody has their guard up. You understand? It's like everybody wants to, everybody's ready to side with what is bad, because in a world like ours, that happens to be the default setting. That happens to be, it's like when you're choosing your character, that is the kind of trait that you have to like choose to get. It's like playing Elden Ring. You have to have a certain level of, you have to have a certain level of monster in you to be able to first of all enter the world, and then make your way around it. It's like, do you know that, as in, I was thinking of something the other day about Kendrick Lamar, right? and with his new album that dropped, GNX. As in, this guy, he's proof that you can still work for like the industry. I feel like, okay, this is what I was thinking of about it. I feel like if the devil wants to like fuck with you, you know how like the devil fucked with Job, right? But he wasn't able to take his life. I feel like that's the kind of test every single person is going through in this world, where the devil has the right to fuck with you, right? The devil has the ability to, or he has the what's the word now? Permission to fuck with you, right? But he doesn't have the permission to like take your life. But we don't know that the devil has that. We don't know that this is how things work. Like, yeah, the devil has been given the permission to fuck with us, to test us, just like to test us. I don't know what the other word to use. But then, since we don't know, we always fall for the test because we just feel like, oh, this is how life is supposed to be. But it's not the devil's fault. It's just us. Like, the point I'm trying to make is that it turns out that it's actually possible for music to be good. Like for a rapper actually to be positive, as in to say something positive. Like, it turns out it's actually possible for a rapper to be a good person. Like, for a rapper to not talk about drugs or how he fucks bitches or how he like does, or how he sexualizes women. And it turns out that that's actually like something that can happen. Because tell me why Kendrick Lamar signed to Universal Music Group, right? The biggest record label in the world, I think. And yet he's still making positive music and bringing in money for the record label, and also positive, spreading positivity in the world. It's like, is it that they're trying to say that every rapper ever in the past could have done this? Like, women didn't need to over sexualize or hypersexualize themselves to be able to make good music. Like, rappers didn't have to talk about killing and stealing and selling drugs. Like, Rick Ross didn't have to be like a fake person that stole like a real drug dealer's name and lie that he was in like a gang. And he didn't, like, P. Diddy didn't need to be this evil person that kind of rapes men and drugs women and dehumanizes and devalues and just fucks people's psyche up. Like, so many things that have happened in the music industry and also in the movie industry and also in so many other industries where people have to abandon their humanity just to be able to be part of the tribe and also make money from. It's like, those things didn't need to happen. Even though you're working for the devil, you actually didn't need to, play the devil part. What is that name? Doja Cat or some fucking, I don't know, is the fat guy that always dresses like a demon on stage all the time. Like the gay ass guy. Like, all these celebrities that always dress like Satan and always dress like demons and stuff like it turns out that you people didn't actually have to do that. You just chose to do that by yourself. Like, nobody forced you to do it. You can always say no and then make your music. And if your music resonates with everybody, people will still come, and the record label will have no choice but to keep you. Like, we have seen Kendrick Lamar is the prime example of that you can make good music. You can be a positive icon in society. You can preach about goodness. You can actually incorporate like the gospel, or should I say Christianity or your religion, into your music, not in a kind of like propagandistic way, but in a way where where it's spiritually appreciated. Like, you can do it that way that makes sense. Not like you're preaching or you're forcing people to join, but no, you're just telling them that, oh, this is something that has helped you in life. me, I'm not a Christian. No, I don't believe in God, but I'm seeing the sense in it. Do you understand? Like, this guy is proof that, oh, this thing actually has the ability to be possible. But yet, fucking so many of these people, it's now turning out to be that they actually chose to do it the wrong way than to do it the right way. I'm not saying that all of them. I'm sure there are other people that, that I'm sure there have been other voices that have taken the narrow way, let's call it that. But they don't. We're asking, like, for example, now there's this guy, this Tom McDonald, this fucking white rapper that has tattoos all over his face. Who else? Like, I always see them as corny. Do you understand? Dax, he's just corny. Like, who else? What is this guy's name? Hobson. Like, I just always see these rappers as they're just corny. They're just there's so much pretense. There's so much acting in what they're trying to do. There is not really something that's they don't really wholeheartedly believe in what they're doing. Like, I just see them as corny. Even the only people that I think that have done it in a good way. Do you understand? I've done it in a way that I can name just a handful of people. A handful. I don't know. Like, Nas has done it perfectly well, but like, I'm talking about like in the new generation now. Nas did it like exceptionally well. Lauryn Hill, but I've heard that she's not like a good person in real life. Like, she's rude in real life. So I don't know. I'm not going to count her. To an extent, like, J. Cole just slightly missed that corny, like J. Cole, he just slightly missed the corny aspect of that kind of rap. He's still like a positive mindset kind of rapper, right? I'm sure there are other underground rappers, but I'm talking of that I don't know about. But I'm talking of people that that are prominent. These are people that are prominent. I'm talking about that are well known. And then finally, Kendrick Lamar. It's like, it's possible that yes, you can preach positivity, you can make good music that is actually not only repeatable, but like classic, and also like tells a story or paints a picture or like gives you something to think about. Good music, not all this mostly noise. Like, that's why I'm really never tied to having a best. Like, I don't follow celebrities. You understand? Because I always see them as humans, and humans are prone to mistake, and they're not supposed to be idols. So I don't follow celebrities because they always fuck up. They always fuck up. Always. So anyways, I don't know where I was going with this. Like, I've like, if I was going, bro, I've diverted. I've gone on another way. I've taken another route. I don't even know what I was talking about before, or what I was saying, or where I was taking it to. But Jesus Christ, holy shit. But anyway, yeah, I know that we're just all being hopeful for the new year, hopeful that things will get better. But the only way I think that things can actually get better for us is if we band together and like just help each other. I don't know. I'm not like an economic expert. I'm not well versed when it comes to, because I think like 2 years ago I wrote down this whole essay or article about how I'll change Nigeria as a president if I ever became the president of Nigeria. I talked about how every state in Nigeria will contribute to some production that can lead to things that will generate the entire country money, and taxes will be paid according to how much every state produces, or every state generates. states to have specialties. Like there'll be states that their own specialty will be like education. There'll be states that their own specialty, like if there is something that, if there is a kind of like surgery that a world, or should I say life-threatening surgery that only the best of the best in the world can do, there has to be like a specific state in Nigeria where people will be like, oh, instead of us to be saying, let's take him to Canada, let's take him to America for surgery, or let's take him to India for surgery, we'll be saying something like, let's take him to Taraba for surgery. Do you understand? So another state to be like in charge of sports, another state to be in charge of entertainment, another state to be in charge, like for example, now Abia State to be in charge of fashion, because that's where they build like anything that you want to, like anything you have on your body that you can think of is done in Abia State. Like on that state, like for example in Port Harcourt now, or should I say the southern part of Nigeria, the states there would like be the ones in charge of like exports, imports, oil and all those stuff, because that's where the oil is and they are also closer to the sea. And then other states will be in charge of farming, other states will be in charge of education, other states will be in charge of, like, there's so many things that the entire nation can contribute, can come together to do. But as kind of thrilling and as exciting as this idea is, it's naive, because the corruption in fact the instability that is Nigeria is so deep that all of that, like the networks, as in Nigeria is tiring. Let's not go there. Let's not go there, man. Let's not go there. Just know that idea was naive of me to even cook up, because that's not just how it, as in, it can work. It can work ideally. It can work potentially, but in reality, there are so many things that you have to do. So many things that you have to first of all break down, destroy, dismantle, take away, kill, arrest. Like there's so many things that you have to do to first of all clean the entire system before you can now start to build it back up to save Nigeria. This is the extent of what we can do goes for us to be able to like breathe have a breath of fresh air in that country. And so the next best way, I think, as I was saying earlier, the point I was trying to make earlier, even though I am not economically sound, in fact, economics was like the worst thing I did in university, but I failed the fuck out of every economics class. Yes, I'm not economically sound, but I feel like if there is like, imagine that there is a hive mind that just happens to be able to control the masses, make everybody just have one mind. Like there's something that just makes everybody to have one mind, and people start to trade honestly with themselves, and then leave the government to be doing leave the people in power to be doing whatever it is they are doing, right? Like farmers, like we go back to how it used to be, as in during the inception of actual modern civilization, where when trading and commerce like was in its boom, like was in its flourishing inception, people were like, oh, so I can trade this and get this. You understand? When it was in that epoch, when it was in that stage, like if we go back to that time where there was this enthusiasm for me to make, like, you just look at the houses that they're making these days. Houses are just now like, except you take out your own money and you hire like an actual architect to like build you an actual house. Like most houses they build these days, most of these apartments are just, I don't know, cool, I don't know, man. Things are just not as authentic as they used to be in the past. Everything has become so minimalistic and has become so reductionist and so dumbed down and so simplistic. It's like the only place where there is some sense of like artistic incorporation is like in the tech world. That's just where it is. I don't know, man. That's what I was saying before. That everybody seems tired and confused because why is the world? Do you understand? Like why does everything feel so mediocre? Like nobody, it feels like everybody is just tired. You understand? Even though yes, everybody is still hopeful. This is what I mean when I say that everybody is just tired. I don't know how else I can explain it, but that's just how I feel anyway. Feelings have always been known to be wrong. But the point I'm trying to make is that if we can go back to that, like if everybody just came together and had one mind and had this enthusiasm for craftsmanship and for to be able to like exchange goods for services and for money and stuff like that, and also for money to once again have actual value and not just militaristic value, because that is where money that is the only thing that is the only value that the dollar gets. That is what gives the dollar its value. The wars that they are fighting, that is what is giving the dollar value. So things that are actually backed, money that is actually backed by gold. It's like if everybody can just come, have one mind, and decide to trade honestly with themselves and make things like cheaper for you. I don't know, man. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know if this makes sense. This doesn't make sense, but just stick with me. Like, just make things cheaper for a while, and then when there is, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. When there's a bond, like everybody just agree to buy things on a cheaper rate. Everybody agrees to buy things on a cheaper rates, right? For a while. Then something happens and it changes. I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, the way I'm saying it, the way it's coming out from my mouth is not the way I thought about it. So let's just scrap the old thing and move on. So, but I'm just trying to offer a solution. I don't know. I'm just trying to offer like a way out. I'm trying to, yes, this new year, it's hopeful. It's a hopeful one. Everybody's anticipating. Everybody has kind of like figured out what they did wrong this year. They think what they got wrong, what they missed, and stuff like that. Everybody's kind of, everybody's having this new energy that they can get it right this time around. So yeah, I hope everybody to those who are going to do their obligatory New Year resolutions, I hope you stick with it long for at least, even if you're going to break it, try to like break your last year streak. If you ended your New Year resolution after 1 week, at least this year try to like extend it a little bit to at least 3 weeks. If you failed after a month last year, this year at least try to fail after 3 months. So to all those people who are doing their New Year resolutions, good luck. To people who are not who don't give a fuck, like people like me right now that don't care, that don't care, because the more I try my best, I am naturally pessimistic. I don't tend to see the good in anything. It's like I'm just I don't know. I was never this pessimistic at all. Like I was always a hopeful person. But the more you think of it, the more the saying ignorance is bliss makes sense. Yes, ignorance is not supposed to be bliss. You're not supposed to be ignorant in this world. You're not supposed to be oblivious of things that are going on around you. You're supposed to have praying, not even watchful eyes. You're supposed to have praying eyes. Do you understand? And the more you see, how Jordan Peterson talked about how Jordan Peterson said, no, not Jordan Peterson, sorry, it was Carl Jung. Wait, one thing I want to say, one point I want to make before I say what I want to say right now is that, I'm scared of reading his books. So I just, I don't know why I think reading Carl Jung is going to, I don't know. It's just something I think, there's just something I feel it is going to do to me. That's why I've kind of like avoided his work for so long. I feel like there is going to be an eventual appropriate time where I'll pick up one of Carl Jung's books and I'll be like, okay, it's time. Do you understand? I'll be like, okay, it's time. Finally, I feel like I'm ready. Do you understand? So, in his saying, he talks about how don't look too long into the abyss, because eventually the abyss will look back. So, it's kind of like the same thing with me. When you've seen too much, it's easy to, and you just don't feel right with this world. Like, in all honesty, I've like given up hope in this world. Like, I just don't see this is just going to be, you know how in stories we talk about wars that lasted for thousands of years, or conflicts that lasted for thousands of years. Thousands of years is not beans, so thousands of years is not beans. So I feel like this is our 1,000-year war, or our 1,000-year strife, and everybody just have to like brace themselves up and do the best that they can. I'm not saying that you should just be entirely nihilistic. Just do the best that you can going into this new year. Do the best that you can, and also keep being hopeful, because I might be and can be entirely wrong. Maybe this new year is going to be like this year is going to be profound. It's going to be like things are going to change, things are going to get better. In fact, there are so many good things that we are hoping for this new year. Like, Donald Trump is going to get into power, and he's going to upset and offset the entire United States government. And we already saw earlier this year, when he won the election, that even the terrorists in Afghanistan, they were like saying they want to make peace. Hamas also said they want to like make peace. Putin is also talking about ending the war, talking to Trump, stuff like that. So, like so many things that are being like, movies, good movies are coming out. I don't know about the new Superman movie. It's like I'm not really feeling it. I saw the trailer. I'm not feeling the new Superman movie at all. First of all, I don't like the suits. I don't like the pants. I don't like the boots. I don't like how light they are making him. I don't like the CGI dog. I don't know why. Like, how are they going to explain? Like, I just don't like this new Superman movie that's coming out. I don't like it, bro. I don't like the fucking Green Lantern. I don't like that why are there kaijus in the movie? Like, why are there giant monsters? Superman is supposed to be a god. This to me, Zack Snyder's own depiction of Superman is the perfect one for me, because he's supposed to be this god. Because when you're God, you're not going to be loud, you're not going to be nerdy, you're not going to be you're not going to, there are certain pretenses that you cannot take. You understand? But you're going to be, reticent. You're going to be, because you're omnipotent, you know everything, you have power. So you just be reticent, you'll be calm, you'll be introspective, you'll be, quiet, you'll be observing. So this is, to me, this is how I saw Henry Cavill's Superman. Like, this is how he is for me. And he's not somebody that rushes, or like you're chill. You don't have to fight. You're like Superman. Do you understand? So, and I don't like seeing Superman being nerfed. Like, Superman, you're not supposed to like reduce his power. So, like, what is that fucking TV show Supergirl, where they nerfed Superman? I don't know. They just nerfed him and said, oh, she's even stronger than him. Where in which comic is Supergirl stronger than Superman, and why? People will just be talking nonsense. So let's not go too much into the whole Superman problem that I don't like. I don't like the movie. It doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it anyways. These are one of the things that people are being hopeful for. Like, maybe people that are traveling, maybe people that are starting businesses, maybe people, even two of my friends are actually getting married this coming year, January this year. That's cool. So, like, so many people are like hopeful for so many good things. Starting a family, stuff like that. May we all win, man. May we all win. So yeah, that's that, man. This is the last episode of the year. If I was going to reassess my year and like give myself a score, I'll say this year, I ended it better than I did last year. I ended this year. I actually thought it was going to be the same, but then just like at the last run, I actually ended this year better than I did last year. In experience, in sense, in introspection, in so many things. So many things actually. So yeah, I had some L's and I had some W's, and it is what it is. That's how the year ends. So the last episode of the year. Thank you guys for listening to me this entire year. It was fun. I hope I make more episodes this coming year. I hope I am more dedicated to this podcast. Thank you for being my audience, even though I don't know how many followers I have on Spotify, or like, and I don't get, but to people who for some strange reason listen to me regularly, thanks, and I'll talk to you guys next year. All right, bye everybody. What? Happy New Year. Yeah.